For the Pittsburgh Steelers to have any hope of competing for the AFC North title this year, they need to come out of the gate swinging. Mike Tomlin's team will face a brutal stretch of games in the second half of the season that includes opponents like the LA Chargers, Cincinnati Bengals, Buffalo Bills, Detroit Lions, and the Baltimore Ravens twice. But the latest prediction suggests Pittsburgh will start slow. Connor Orr of Sports Illustrated recently predicted all 272 regular season games in the NFL in 2025. When he broke down the Steelers' schedule, he had Pittsburgh opening the season with 3 straight losses. This streak of miserable play includes falling short to the Jets on the road, the Seahawks at home, and the Patriots in New England before finally snapping their losing streak overseas in Ireland for their international game against the Minnesota Vikings. Exiting their concerningly early Week 5 bye, Orr has the Steelers with just a 1-3 record before things really start to heat up. Though Orr has Pittsburgh fighting back into the hunt with a 9-8 record by the end of the season, his predictions have Tomlin's team finishing third in the AFC North and missing the playoffs. This would prove to be a colossal disappointment for a team doing everything in its power to snap an 8-year drought without a playoff win. Fortunately, there's reason to believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers will be better in 2025 than SI predicts. The Pittsburgh Steelers should outperform early expectations during the 2025 season. It's a different year, but the same old story. NFL writers, analysts, and oddsmakers have the Steelers doing enough to keep their head above water, but falling short where it matters most. To be fair, this has largely been the result of practically every season since the late years of Ben Roethlisberger. However, there's reason to believe that will finally change in 2025. Last year, the Steelers were able to scrounge up a 10-win season and a playoff berth despite subpar quarterback play from Russell Wilson and even with T.J. Watt going quiet down the stretch. With Aaron Rodgers in town, Pittsburgh should see an upgrade at the most important position in football. Meanwhile, the Steelers' roster is looking much better on paper than it did this time last year. Departing from the team are players like Minkah Fitzpatrick, George Pickens, Russell Wilson, Dan Moore Jr., Najee Harris, and Dante Jackson. But their additions grossly outweigh their mostly meaningless losses. Joining the team this year, in addition to Rodgers, are players like Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, DK Metcalf, Derek Harmon, Juan Thornhill, and Caleb Johnson. Tomlin recently said he believes his new-look defense could do historic things in 2025, and they've got the talent on paper. The Steelers typically start the season strong, and going against the Jets, Seahawks, and Patriots to begin the year is hardly a daunting task. It's much more likely that the Steelers are 2-1 than 0-3 entering Week 4, so take this prediction with a grain of salt. If one thing is clear, it's that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going all in on the 2025-26 season. With quarterback Aaron Rodgers not getting any younger, the team is attempting to make a championship push with him in what could be his lone season in town, and his last in the NFL. Alongside the Rodgers pickup came numerous other moves. One of them, notably, was trading for former Seattle Seahawks wide receiver DK Metcalf. As Week 1 of the regular season approaches, could another high-profile wideout enter the fold? Odell Beckham Jr. isn't ruling it out. The veteran pass catcher says he isn't done in the NFL, which could lead to a signing in the coming weeks. Apparently, linking up with Rodgers isn't out of the question. Odell Beckham Jr. not ruling out possibility of joining Steelers. Comments Beckham made earlier this summer are beginning to resurface. In an appearance on the Club Random podcast with Bill Maher, he left the door open for the prospect of signing with the Steelers and playing with Rodgers. "I love him, and we've had conversations," Beckham said. "I won't say that it's not a possibility, and I won't say that I haven't had any communication. It's no secret that Rodgers and Beckham have been fans of one another for years. Every time Beckham was on the market, whichever team Rodgers played on was oftentimes deemed a favorite to land him. Back in June, Pittsburgh was urged to pursue the former Offensive Rookie of the Year. It's important to keep in mind that Beckham is nowhere near the level of player he once was. There are no more Pro Bowl or second-team All-Pro berths left in the tank. Heck, there probably isn't a 2019 Cleveland Browns effort left in him. If that's the case, what's a potential high-level expectation should he play in an 11th season? Look at Beckham's lone campaign with the Baltimore Ravens as a reference point. In 14 regular season games, he hauled in 35 passes for 565 yards and 3 touchdowns. That was pretty similar to his 2021 production, when he posted 44 catches for 537 yards and 5 touchdowns with the Browns and Los Angeles Rams. Does that stat line help a team like the Steelers? Absolutely. The question is whether the juice is worth the squeeze, though. Breaking down current Pittsburgh wide receiver room. Banking on Beckham to replicate any sort of prior output is risky. After all, he'll turn 33 in November and has a multitude of injuries on the docket. He's suffered knee, ankle, hip, shoulder, and hamstring ailments since the turn of the decade. Also, last season with the Miami Dolphins went about as poorly as one could expect. In 9 games, he was targeted 18 times in the passing game and mustered all of 9 catches for 55 yards. The Steelers' wideout depth chart is by no means loaded. Metcalf is a nice starting point and would be a number 1 option on several teams. That isn't an issue. Behind him, both Calvin Austin III and Roman Wilson are young players who have flashed. With that said, neither is established as a top-tier secondary receiver. Austin's 548 yards and 4 touchdowns a season ago hinted at development. Would signing Beckham prevent that progression for players who need the reps? Potentially. In all likelihood, Beckham's realistic outcome would be being another Robert Woods or Scotty Miller. That isn't a bad thing, as it'd pad the depth at receiver and complete the room. On the other hand, it crowds things, and Beckham has never been one to take a total back seat. He's a fiery personality and polarizing player, much like Rodgers. That's part of why they seem to understand each other. It remains to be seen whether that would, or will, ever translate to the field with both players' football days winding down. Wide receiver was arguably the Pittsburgh Steelers' biggest area of need heading into the offseason. The team addressed that need by acquiring 2-time Pro Bowl receiver DK Metcalf from the Seattle Seahawks and Pro Bowl tight end Jonnu Smith from the Miami Dolphins, but it created another hole when it traded George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys back in early May. Pittsburgh's WR depth chart behind Metcalf leaves much to be desired. Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin III, Robert Woods, and Scotty Miller, Pittsburgh's presumed number 2 to 5 receivers, logged a combined 61 catches, 810 yards, and 4 touchdowns last season, and with quarterback Aaron Rodgers taking over under center, the Steelers are rumored to still be in the market for an upgrade at receiver. More NFL. Chiefs get major update on Rasty Rice's looming suspension. Pittsburgh has been linked to Green Bay Packers wideout Romeo Doubs and New York Jets receiver Allen Lazard, both former teammates of Rodgers, plus Washington Commanders star Terry McLaurin, but there's perhaps another receiver who could find himself catching passes from Rodgers in 2025. During a recent appearance on the Club Random podcast with Ball Maher, former Giants, Cleveland Browns, Los Angeles Rams, and Miami Dolphins WR Odell Beckham Jr. hinted that he could potentially be on the verge of signing with the Steelers. "Why don't you join the Steelers? That'd be great because he's on the Steelers now," Maher asked. "I won't say that it's not a possibility, and I won't say that I haven't had any communications," Beckham Jr. responded. "I'm not done. I'll tell you that."